What's up, YouTube? All right, so I'm going to be making a video today showcasing Pacific Coast Highway and all of the damage up there. I got a couple of jobs. I got one in right off of the highway, and I got another one in Malibu. So as I'm making my way up there, I'll go ahead and do a showcase of PCH so you guys can see. Clearly, there's not a lot going on there. There's absolutely zero construction on all of the houses on the beachfront side. All right, so we'll do a quick little drive through and I'll share with you guys some of my thoughts and opinions about it. All right, I hope you guys enjoy the video. All right, let's roll. Okay, so right here is Alomar Avenue. I just did a drop off here, back here to my right. They're doing a foundation. They're going to be rebuilding a home. Look at this old house right here on the right hand side. You might not be able to see it, but this is one of my favorite sections of or like little neighborhoods in the Palisades. Over there, off of Alomar or Alismar or whatever it's called, they got some beautiful ocean views. This was such a nice neighborhood. Beautiful place to live, grow up as a kid. Here you got Taquit's place and Aglin. It was actually raining earlier this morning. It was kind of gloomy and wet. It always sucks working in the rain. I mean, it doesn't suck, it just gets muddy. Like this morning I had a bunch of PVC pipe. Oh, it's gonna be pretty tight right here. I had a bunch of PVC pipe that I was delivering to this job site in Encino. And it was raining and the PVC pipe gets all wet. And it gets really slippery when you lift it up with a forklift. And the job site that I was at was on a slope. It was on a hill. And it was all muddy, so I started losing traction. And when you're on a hill, you know, the momentum can go lean to one side. And next thing you know, if you're not paying attention and driving carefully, you'll actually, that PVC pipe will just slide right off the forks. You have to be really attentive and alert. This is the area where I encountered those two older people who said they've been living in the Palisades for like 50 years or something. And I tried to talk to them for a little while, but they had other things to do. Which is cool. Oh wow, look, these guys are coming along right here across the way. I'm not sure if you guys can see it off in the distance straight ahead. It looks like a pretty big house being constructed off of Muskingum Avenue. I'm actually not going to be going that way. I got to make a left here on Sunset. It can be quite challenging making a left-hand turn onto Sunset sometimes. These people haul ass on this street. And there's actually all these trees to my left-hand side, which kind of obscure your vision. Suerte, paisa. A lot of these apartments, I would assume, are having a really hard time being leased out or rented. Not too many people want to live in this area right now. It's definitely not the most optimal time to be here, right? A lot of jobs are not going to be there anymore. A lot of businesses went out of business. Obviously, thousands upon thousands of homes have just, went up in flames. What's cool is there's not so many highway patrolmen prowling this area anymore, which is nice. You used to have to drive so slow. Now you can actually drive somewhat faster. Not fast, I mean right now I'm only doing 35 right now. But it used to be 25. And there was highway patrolmen everywhere. And truck drivers, they got to be efficient with their time. Like I don't really have time to be messing around, and I have appointments and timelines and deadlines, and I have to be productive throughout the day. I got to get shit done. And if you own your own contract, if you're your own trucking business, time is money. The more loads you can do, if you're pay by load, the more you do, the more money you make. When that truck's sitting idle and not doing anything, you're not making money. So you got to be rolling. So this is Palisades Drive right here, and if you go off to the right, we've gone up in that canyon area before. There were a lot of homes that were burned down up there. It's not the most desirable place to live in the Palisades because I don't know. It's not like the Bluffs or the Alphabet Streets or anything like that. It's pretty up there though. There's some really big mansions. There's a couple of really big custom houses right here as well. I don't go up there very often, but right back there on that cross street, Los Leones Drive, I used to have to drop rebar up there all the time. They're building they were building custom houses up there, and it required me to drop off 30-foot rebar quite frequently. And but they're up in the cliffs and hills, and man, it's very challenging getting up there. But I think a lot of those job sites got burned down, and I'm not sure what they're doing. I haven't been up there in probably a year. All right, so here's Pacific Coast Highway, and there's the Gladstones off to my left. So I got a job. Oh, you can see like right here, I know I've said it before in prior videos, but if you look to the right, you'll see like this plastic draped over the hillside, and then they have these sandbags hanging over the side of it. And the reason why they do that, and they got this K-rail right here, is because the ground is going to collapse. Like that little hill area is going to buckle one day. And somebody owns that land. And if that land, collapses onto the highway or freeway and kills someone, those people are liable. That actually happened, I think it was in Palisades the other day. There was a really big landslide. It's no different from right here on the right-hand side, right? Like, you can imagine they got a big house right there on the cliff. And then if the cliff or the ground from underneath gives way, well, there goes your home, right? Bye-bye. That happens to a lot of these coastal communities that are built on cliffs. The ground is actually eroding out from underneath them. So you can imagine how hard it must be to acquire homeowners insurance if you live in an area like that. And it's only going to get harder. Pretty soon, homeowners insurance is going to be unattainable for certain areas of California. These coastal beachfront properties will probably be some of the regions in California where you won't be able to get insurance. Or you'll be able to get the California Fair Plan, whatever, up to $3 million worth of coverage, but I mean, that's nothing. $3 million worth of coverage doesn't cover their floors that they imported from Italy. So, in other words, the only people who will be living on the beachfront properties are going to be, multimillionaires who don't need mortgages, and they have enough money to self-insure. That's going to be the only viable and financially viable option going forward. I don't think that they're going to be offered insurance. And if they are, it's going to be astronomical. Like, their premiums are just going to be through the roof, like ridiculous. I don't think people really understand that either. And I'm surprised it hasn't happened more, like in not just these coastal areas, but in like areas of Topanga Canyon or in Westlake. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Westlake area, Westlake, California, Calabasas, California, Thousand Oaks, California. All of these areas are highly prone to wildfires. Off of Lynn, off of Lindero, there's these beautiful multi-million-dollar mansions built along these hills that are just covered with dense brush and debris and foliage, and all it literally takes is a couple of gusts of wind and a cigarette, or some lunatic who with a gallon of gasoline, and you got a multi-billion-dollar problem. Oh, that's fake news. No, it's not, bro. Look at all these houses over here on the left, all gone. A lot of them are for sale. I've gone up and down this coast countless times, and there's absolutely nothing going on. And I've actually gone up and down the hills of Malibu Canyon and these small little hillside areas in Malibu. There's zero building underway. Zero. I think there's one job site on the beach where they're actually drilling, but that's it. Maybe one. I'm not sure what the future holds for this area. I know for a fact that people are buying these, lots up because, if you got the money, yeah, it makes sense, and it's a great investment. You can get beachfront property. If you're a billionaire, you get Malibu beachfront property at a 50% off, or whatever the hell they're going for. And word is a lot of these lots are being sold to foreign investor, Chinese, right? In other words. And there's ways that they can conceal that and right? Because people don't want to hear that. The Chinese are buying up land here in Malibu. The residents of Malibu don't want to know that. I mean, I don't know if they care really, as long as the value of their home land stays up, right? They don't give a shit who buys the land. All they care about is money. But that's the truth, land values are down, and you know who's capitalizing on that opportunity? The Chinese. And here we are, stupid Americans, right, allowing it to happen. The Chinese, their success at your expense. The value of your land is going down, and they're going to reap the reward, whether you like to believe that or not. That's just the truth. I got a drop right up here from this company called Myers on the right-hand side. It's always a pain in the ass working here on the highway. Alright. So I'm going to pull in here on the right, and I'm going to run over. In right here. Alright, give me a second, guys. I gotta do this drop, okay? And then I'll continue the video. I gotta reach out to these guys and drop off a bunch of lumber. So just give me a second, alright? Okay, alright, I'm back. Man, this job site right here on the right-hand side, they ordered the wrong lumber, so I had to drop off a bunch of lumber and pick up a bunch of their old stuff. It's a pain in the ass. Sometimes, I have this forklift, or they call it a Moffat, on the back of the truck, and it only has 3 wheels, 2 in the front and then 1 in the back, and that's like the steering wheel. So when you lift up things that are really heavy, like tons of rebar or tons of lumber, and you work on these uneven surfaces, like the roads that have really big holes in them, or if you work alongside the cliffs and you're on a hill, these Moffats or forklifts, they're really susceptible to flipping over, especially when you have a heavy load on the side of a hill. It makes it very dangerous. And you got to really be careful and cautious with what you're doing. It's super dangerous. Alright, so back to the video. There's a lot of construction going on on the highway with K-rails and doing they're burying all these power lines alongside the highway, or in the highway, really. It's going to be like this for, I don't know, maybe at least another year, at least. Hopefully they repave the highway like they did to Mescal Canyon. But that would require the highway to be shut down for a pretty significant period of time. And I'm not sure that's going to be happening. I don't know. I guess only time will tell. I can't tell you how many times I've been offered jobs by a lot of these companies. There's a lot of all these contractors and these construction workers and these big companies. They're having a hard time getting workers because the job that they do is pretty tough. But every other day I get offered a job, and I try to maintain good relationships with these customers and these companies, because you never know when you might take them up on the offer. There's a couple of really big ones that have offered me positions just because I have my Class A license with all of my endorsements. There's one called Morrow Meadows. They're a pretty big one. But I think they're in a they're a union, right? Their pay's pretty good. I've seen their pay, but you got to go through their apprenticeship program, and the first year the pay is not very well. But I think it's like 5 or 6 years you're at top pay, and I think their top pay was like $65 an hour, which is pretty good. You figure $65 an hour. Obviously, you got to be good at what you do, because if you suck, they're not going to keep you around. So you have to be a hard worker. Unfortunately, that's just the name of the game. But I get offered jobs a lot from a lot of different companies. But what I've learned throughout my career, driving trucks and just working, and for the past, I don't know, I've been working since I was like 20 years old, really. Like I had a grocery store job when I was like 18 years old, but I don't know, that didn't really count. That was just like my first job. But I've been working ever since I was 20, really. And what I've learned is, it's not what they tell you, it's what they don't tell you. That's what really matters. And you only figure it out once you've actually taken the job. So it's really important of you, if you're a young guy or a young gal trying to look for a job, it's really in your best interest to ask as many questions as possible and try to get as much information as possible, because the more you know about the position, the more likely you are to be able to determine whether or not that position is the right fit for you, right? Like, what are the start times? What are the hours? Do you work holidays? Do you work night shift? There's all these factors that are in play. And some of those, it's not what they tell you, it's what they don't tell you. Do they pay overtime? Believe it or not, there are companies here in California, whether it's legal or illegal, I don't know, they don't pay overtime. They don't pay you time and a half, which is absurd. That's crazy. But some companies do that, whether you believe it or not. I'm not sure how they go about doing it, but I think that they register the company in a state where overtime isn't applicable, and then they just operate in California, and then they get hit with a penalty or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but I know for a fact that happens. It's happened to me. And I left that job pretty quickly, because I was like, you know what, why would I continue working for these people and I'm not getting paid overtime? I'm not getting paid time and a half. So here's that one job site up here on the left that I was talking to you about, where I'm not sure if I have been, but this is the only job site that I've seen in Malibu where they're actually doing some drilling. That's what that crane's there for and that drill's there for. And that thing ain't going down to 20 or 30 feet. They're going to drill a 100-foot hole right there. That's not you know, Adam Carolla posted a video the other day saying they only got to go 20 or 30 feet down. That's not true. They have to go, I think, anywhere between 90 to 110 foot deep. So, you know, that's a lot of rebar. And that's a long time to do that. There's a company further north in Malibu called Troy Cox. They specialize in doing stuff like that, and I deliver to them quite often. I deliver to them epoxy-coated rebar that they utilize to make those caissons. And they, you know, obviously they dip the I don't know if they dip the rebar or they spray it, but either way, they put that epoxy coating on there so the rebar doesn't corrode and rust over time from the salt water. So it's very expensive to do that. Wow, look at that chick. Oh my God. What a beauty. Anyways, yeah. And that takes, I've spoken with them personally about how long it takes, and they've been on that job for over 3 years now, and it's taken over $10 million just to do the foundation for that home. So it is no easy task, and it is definitely not cheap to do that, to build a home on the beach in California. It might be different in Louisiana, the rules and regulations, I don't know. But in California, if you want to build in Malibu on the beach, you better have a big bankroll, and you better have your own insurance. You better have the ability to self-insure, because you're not going to be getting insurance. All right, so that's pretty much it. All of the damage going along Pacific Coast Highway. You know, I got to deliver to Morro Meadows coming up here. There's a laboratory called HRL. I don't know what it stands for, but I go up there all the time, and I have to deliver to that company, Morro Meadows. They're building this big facility at this laboratory. Anyways, so I'm headed up there now. It's actually right next to the Pepperdine High School. So that's going to go ahead and pretty much wrap up this video for today. And I hope you guys appreciated, you know, the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I just hit 1,700 subscribers today, which is another major milestone for any channel. That's a major accomplishment. It's very hard to do that, in my opinion. I don't know. Some people might think it's really easy to do that. I don't think so. I think it's actually quite hard. And it's not like I have people promoting my channel or anything like that. Look at this guy just stopped in the middle of the highway. Can you believe that? Sometimes I wonder if these people that make such stupid decisions, they're just doing insurance fraud. It's unbelievable. Like, they see a big semi-truck like mine and they see dollar signs. Anyways, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video for today, all right? So until next time, I really appreciate all of the continuous support. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.